Hey guys, Chris here back with a follow-up video with the Mi 11 Ultra. So it has now been a week with this fantastic flagship, an absolute powerhouse. If you haven't seen my first video, that is when I go into all the depth there of exactly what you can expect out of this phone, the build, the design, camera samples and whatnot. So very smooth, very fluid. I've had a fantastic time with this phone so far. It is really, really good. But what I missed from that first video, of course, was some battery life stats and time. So this is my fixed battery life test that I run on all the phones I review in the channel. So it got 9 hours, which is not an amazing result here. This is the screen calibrated to 200 nits of brightness. And realistically, this is 7 to 6 hours of on-screen time. And that's running 120 Hertz with the full resolution, which is 1440p WQHD. Now, charge time is excellent. As I mentioned in that first video, that it's under 40 minutes, and it normally always is. So from 3% to 100 took here only 39 minutes, which is impressive, okay? For 5,000 milliamp hours, that's a quick time, 67 watts, and it will also do this with wireless charging, which is really an impressive feat. Now, I don't have that official charger for that, which is what you're going to need. So a couple other things to point out, that the wireless speeds on my wireless 6 router here, so Wi-Fi AX, this is very quick, very, very quick, over 1,000 megabits per second maximum speeds and throughput there with this particular router that I have. And the low point, not the highest I've seen, getting up to 300 megabits per second, but excellent, really, really good. And I have been very impressed with the speeds so far with that. GPS too, this is working well. It gets a good average, so not always in the green. It's about 28, and I have actually seen better, but it will still see a lot of satellites, gets a good lock, and the accuracy will not be, of course, any better than 3 meters. That is the maximum that we can get with the GPS accuracy with the Qualcomm chips. That's all they allow us to do. Now, speaking of that signal strength, I'm on 5G. You can probably barely see it's very small right now there at the top. And that 5G signal is normally always a solid 3 bars. Now, I have the exact same carrier with another SIM, another mobile, here with my Samsung Galaxy Fold, okay? Samsung Galaxy Fold, normally one signal or almost nothing, where this will have 3 or 2. So there's a big, big improvement there in the 5G reception and the range I have noticed with the Mi 11 Ultra. Over to another frequently asked question, and that is the RAW mode. So you can shoot with all 3 of the lenses. You can see right now in RAW, so there's the wide, we've got 5 times optical, and I will just demonstrate too this zoom, the zoom capabilities of this 48 megapixel 5 times optical camera. So here's the ultra wide. Now a lot of people are asking me about the shutter rate. I found on the main camera sometimes the shutter rate can be a little slow. Like you see when I tap the button there, the shutter and then the actual photo can sometimes take up to a second depending on the condition. So that's 5 times optical. I'm zoomed into a cross that's on the top of the mountain right here. I found 5 times very detailed, good looking photos. And you can step that up then to 10 times, which is still very usable because it's cropping on with digital zoom, but because we have the 48 megapixels, it still looks pretty good. And then if you want to zoom, you can increase that now to somewhere around 20 times. This is probably about the absolute maximum I would go to, because the quality starts to really degrade over about 10 times. So let's take it up now to, oh, I've gone out of that, hang on, take it up to now 20 times. 50 times now, you can see the cross there. And that is now quite a blurry, not really great looking image. And then when you step it right up to 120, see the cross there, and just an oil painting mode really when you zoom in that much. And the night mode with this particular phone is impressive. I have gone out middle of the night here and I took a couple of photos. This was complete darkness, and you can see the difference here. This is the normal photo mode, so you can barely make out what are we looking at right here. And then when I turn on the night mode, and that large sensor, the 50 megapixel main sensor with the f1.9 aperture, does a really good job. It's almost like a owl mode. You got night vision with this, because I couldn't even see these clouds that were there. The stars I could see, but I didn't really see any clouds at all, and it just brings it all out. So the night mode is quite impressive on this. Now, as I mentioned too, with these cameras in the first video, my first impressions was that I felt that optimization is clearly needed. And Xiaomi has mentioned that it's basically still on a beta firmware for the cameras, and there's going to be a big update coming, and I expect big results with this one. So I'm going to be hanging on to this phone for some time just to see that come through and hopefully get improvements, because I do find a lot of the photos, so take a look at this one here of my daughter, very good shot, I do really like this, but take a look at her bright pink dress. The pink is just way overdone, oversaturated, and it's even clipping the colors with these flowers, as I pointed out as well. So that's one area of improvement, and some photos look a little too contrasty, so some of the blacks, it just kills the detail completely, and I find that the blacks are just too deep, and we need to have a little bit more details in the shadow. So clearly optimization is needed with the Mi 11 Ultra, and I'm sure they're going to get there with those firmware updates. So that wraps it up. That this is a fantastic phone now. After 1 week, it's a definite keeper. I'm hanging onto this phone, and all I'm doing now is waiting for them to add support, basically for the rear screen to support more than just the photo mode. As I pointed out in my first video, that it's just photos, so no ultra wides, no video mode, which would be great to use this as a vlog camera, because you can look at the screen, get yourself in the shot using that as the viewfinder, and use the main cameras, which of course are so much better than the front 20 megapixel camera, which is a bit of a disappointment. That only has 1080p. So if you want to see more camera samples and a lot more detail, do check my first video I posted. The link is in the description. It also should be coming up right now too, that you can click on in the video, and I will see you in the next one.